My name is Jack. I have 2 sons, ages 16 and 13. There's something I've been keeping secret from them. I'm the boss of the pseudo pride. I've been lying to them, pretending that I'm connected with a construction company. Then, one day, I received this message from my younger son. Dad, I've got trouble. I need your help. My younger son seemed really panicked. This didn't seem like an ordinary issue. First, I decided to ask what had happened. Actually, gangsters tried to pick on us. Gangsters. Hearing that word from my son gave me a bad feeling. Could it be they knew they were my sons and targeted them? If that's the case, it's unforgivable. Which organization are they from? They said they were from the Johnson crew. My brother was punched by the underboss of the Johnson crew and abducted. You should help. My younger son's voice was on the verge of tears. He must have been really scared. The Johnson crew is an organization based in the same county as us. They are not as large as the pseudo pride, but for my high school sons, just the mention of gangsters is enough to scare them. Apparently, a few members of the Johnson crew tried to pick on my sons. Yo, kid, watch where you're going. You've ruined my clothes. It seemed that the gangsters from the Johnson crew had deliberately bumped into my younger son, but my sons were too scared to protest. Sorry isn't good enough, he growled. So, what should I do then? Hand over some cash. Even as kids, you've got to have some money, right? Then, the gangsters forcefully took the wallets out of my son's pockets. It seems they took a $10 bill that was inside. Is this all you've got? I'm sorry, but we're still students. Then get us some cash. There's an old man's buckster over there, right? Threaten that old man and get $1,000 from him. If you quietly do as we say, we might let you off. We can do that. That old man has nothing to do with this. My eldest son, strong in his sense of justice, spoke up firmly to the men. Then, the gangsters began to threaten my eldest son. You think it's okay to tap back to us? We're the ones you don't want to mess with. Ever heard of the Johnson crew? I'm the second most powerful guy there, the underboss. You get it? Oh no, bro, we better not get involved with the gangsters. My middle schooler's younger son was so shocked to find out they were gangsters that he felt like passing out. The older son initially taken aback, but quickly realized the situation. With a steady gaze, he refused to yield to the gang members' bullying tactics. You bumped into him, he retorted, his voice steady despite the rising tension. You're the one at fault. What? You better watch yourself, he warned. Man, for a kid, you've got guts. Fine, we've got a little job for you. What are you going to do? That'll be the fun part when you come to our office. No, please stop. My elder son desperately resisted being abducted by the men, but he was no match for the large men and was repeatedly punched in the face. My younger son also tried to intervene, but like his brother, he was punched hard in the stomach. Then, the older son became the men's punching bag, getting hit repeatedly. Finally, he was taken to the office of the Johnson crew. My younger son, unable to do anything, must have called me. Where are you now? I'm near the Johnson crew's office. My brother is inside the office, and they might still be beating him. Dad, what should I do? Stay there. I'm coming right over. But are you sure? They're gangsters. Don't worry, it'll be all right when I get there. Okay, I'll send you the office's address. No need. I know where the Johnson crew's office is. What? Anyway, just wait there. I hang up the phone and headed straight for the Johnson crew's office. The office was about a 20-minute drive from our house. When I arrived in front of the office, I saw my younger son surrounded by the gangsters. I got out of the car and rushed to my son, and the men turned their sharp gazes on me. Who are you? I'm this kid's father. What have you done to my sons? What? You don't know who we are. And you gangsters, how come you don't know me? Like we know some random old guy. My younger son looked on with a pale face. Apparently, he had been trying to plead with these men to release his brother. There were a few injuries on my younger son's face, likely inflicted by them. You guys are just soldiers of the Johnson crew, huh? Pretty bold of you rank-and-file guys to mess with my sons. Dad, don't say things like that. It's okay. We'll get revenge for you. What have you been saying this whole time? This old guy is kind of funny. You guys really have the nerve to talk to me like that. You haven't been in this world long, have you? Shut up. What's all this about? If you keep talking like that, we might just beat you up like your son inside. Try it if you can. I may be an older guy, but I won't lose to mouthy bottom thigs like you. What did you say? There were 4 members of the Johnson crew present. They all seemed to be in their early 20s. They were muscular and appeared to be nimble or quick. But as the boss of the pseudo pride, I wasn't going to lose to some small-time thugs. I felt a bit sorry to beat them up badly, so I decided to warn them. You better not try anything with me. The chance of you guys beating me is sub-zero, and you'll end up in a world of hurt. If you're ready for that, come at me. Like we'd lose to some ordinary old guy. With that, a blonde-haired guy lunged at me. Right now, I didn't have time to deal with them. I grabbed the blonde man's arm and slammed him to the ground. He looked at me in disbelief. My son, standing nearby, was also staring with wide eyes. Dad, you can fight. Well, I've got to protect my sons. A boss like me can't lose to the bottom thugs. The boss. Not only my son, but also the men stopped in their tracks at my words. What do you mean by boss? The details can wait. Let me into the office. My older son is in there, right? What? You think we'll just let you in? Then another man came at me swinging. I subdued him just like the first one. This guy was weaker than the blonde man and seemed to lose consciousness for a moment. Let's go inside anyway. What's with this old guy? The men looked dissatisfied, but I ignored them and went inside, with my younger son following. When I reached the largest room in the office, I found my elder son, beaten and bruised. Once inside, it seemed like the gangsters had been using my older son as their plaything. As I arrived, my elder son looked at me, surprised. Dad, there were several gangsters in the room, including the back of a man who seemed to be the underboss of the Johnson crew. Then, the 2 bottom thugs I had beaten ran to the underboss. Underboss, he wants to play with fire. He's fired up. This guy beat us up. He claims he's this kid's dad, but you've got to beat him up just like we get beaten. Please avenge us. What? You beat up my guys? The underboss of the Johnson crew then turned to look at me. Huh? You are? The underboss, upon making eye contact with me, lost his words. The other gangsters near him also seemed to recognize who I was. They quickly turned pale, just like their underboss. Come on, hurry up and knock this old man down. It's impossible, don't you get it? You stupidly provoked this man. What? Wasn't it you guys who started this mess? Right, Mike. Huh? You know him. The soldiers still didn't seem to realize who I was. In front of my sons, I decided to reveal my identity. Listen, young man, let me tell you who I am. I'm the boss of the pseudo pride. Don't tell me you guys haven't heard of the pseudo pride. Are you serious? It appeared the soldiers were aware of the pseudo pride, but they hadn't recognized my face as a boss. Though they had been disrespectful just moments before, their attitude changed immediately. I'm so sorry for our rude behavior earlier. I had no idea you were the boss of the pseudo pride. You guys can wait. First, I need to talk to Mike. Mike was the name of the underboss of the Johnson crew. I had met this man a few times before. Mike was still pale as he looked at me. You're the one who beat up my older son. According to my younger son, you guys started the trouble. Well, hey, why did your attitude change all of a sudden when I showed up? You were hitting my son repeatedly just a while ago, right? These 2 are the soldiers. No, they are both my precious sons. How dare you lay your hands on my sons? You'll settle this properly, right? Of course. I'm terribly sorry. I had no idea they were your sons. Seeing the underboss become so meek, my sons looked shocked. Above all, they seemed unable to believe that I was the boss. Dad, what do you mean you're a boss? Weren't you just an ordinary office worker? I'm sorry, I've kept it hidden from you, but I'm the boss of the pseudo pride, an organized crime group. I didn't mean to surprise you. Is that so? I've been in this world since my teens. My late father was also a gangster, but he passed away at the young age of 40. His dream was to establish his own group. I wanted to fulfill my father's dream on his behalf. So, I gathered some partners, and at the age of 30, I established the pseudo pride. The reason my ex-wife and I split up was that I was too absorbed in my work and neglected my family. She found another man and left. I admit, the divorce was partly my fault. I didn't ask for alimony and just went through with the divorce. My eldest son was 4 years old when we separated, and he barely remembered his mother. My youngest was just a year old then, so he has no memory of her at all. Although I had neglected my family before, I started putting my sons first after the divorce. I kept my true identity hidden to spare them any uncomfortable feelings. But I knew there was a limit to how long I could keep this secret. I had planned to reveal my true identity to them at the right time. I never expected it to come out like this, but for now, I continued speaking to Mike. You guys didn't think you could mess with my sons and get away with it, did you? Of course, we understand. What should we do to make amends? First, let's call your boss here. A boss is responsible for the mistakes of their subordinates. Is your boss in the office? No, he's out at the moment. Then bring him here now. If he cannot make it within an hour, we'll have to take matters into our own hands. Matters. If you don't want to be in more pain, call him quickly. Understood. Then Mike immediately contacted their boss. The boss of the Johnson crew, sensing the seriousness of the situation, quickly returned to the office. About 30 minutes later, he showed up. As soon as the boss saw me, he began to apologize. I've heard the situation from Mike. I apologize for my idiots causing injury to your sons. Of course, we'll properly pay for the damages and medical expenses. That's obvious, isn't it? Make sure to pay for the compensation and medical fees. Yes, yes. How much should we pay? We'll talk about the amount once my treasure arrives. Huh? I don't want to expose my sons to any more dangerous situations, so let's continue this discussion among adults. Understood. Sorry, but you two go home and wait there. Can you walk? Yeah. Despite his battered state, my older son seemed able to walk normally. Quietly, they left the office. With my sons gone, I could handle things more aggressively. I turned my gaze to the Johnson crew members. They were visibly frightened. The Johnson crew, a small-time gang with about 20 members, was no match for the pseudo pride, which has 300 members, well known in the California region, and the most recognized group in this particular area. The Johnson crew, aware of their disadvantage, feared being crushed by the pseudo pride, which had overpowered many organizations in the past. Please, we'll pay whatever amount you ask for the compensation. Can we settle this matter peacefully? What are you talking about? You don't have the final say. For now, I'm calling our underboss here. Wait. What? My statement made the Johnson crew members even more pale. Ignoring them, I called Chris, the underboss of the pseudo pride. Good work. Is something the matter? I'm currently at the Johnson crew's office. The Johnson crew. I briefly explained what had happened. Chris knows I have sons, and was visibly angered when he learned they had been hurt. We can't overlook this. We'll head over there right away. I'm counting on you. I really want you guys to give them a hard time. Sure, leave it to us. The members of the Johnson crew looked at me with pale faces after I ended the call. I flashed a sly smile at them. A few of our executives will be here soon. Don't even think about running away. Yes, yes. Within 10 minutes, Chris and his team showed up at the Johnson crew's office. Though our office was a fair distance away, they must have sped over in their cars. As soon as he arrived, Chris grabbed the Johnson crew's boss by the collar. How dare you lay hands on the Big Daddy's sons? Don't think you're getting off easy. We'll make sure to give you a proper punishment. Said this with a menacing smile. Chris, younger but more intimidating. The boss was completely terrified. Then, the boss and other members of the Johnson crew started kneeling down and asking for forgiveness. The soldiers looked like they were totally frozen out of fear. We are deeply sorry for what happened. We will do everything we can to make amends. Please just don't destroy our group. Of course, I had no intention of letting them off with just an apology. If I let them off now, calling Chris and the others would be pointless. I gave Chris this order. They beat up my son. I won't be satisfied until they've had a taste of their own medicine. Can you guys give them a good beating? Of course. We'll avenge you. Chris and 4 other executives had arrived, making them a total of 5. Although few in number, all 5 were skilled gangsters. The Johnson crew had 10 members present, including the boss. They had twice our number, but these 10 stood no chance in a fair fight against our men. I decided to stay back and just watch. Chris and his team then began to methodically beat up each of the 10 crew members. The Johnson crew couldn't put up much of a fight and were quickly overpowered. Despite their numbers, they didn't last more than a few minutes. Chris and his team seemed almost disappointed by how weak they were. Don't you guys even try to resist? You call yourselves gangsters, don't you? Doesn't it bother you to be taken down so easily by us? Of course, the Johnson crew members appeared frustrated, but they seemed unable to retort. Not one of them spoke up. After Chris and his team had delivered their punishment, I slowly approached the beaten gangsters. The soldiers were already in tears. Relax. I won't beat you anymore. We are deeply sorry for what happened. I'm tired of apologies. You guys can't stand up to anyone stronger than yourselves. What's so fun about threatening weak-looking white-collar workers and students? I despise gangsters like you. The Johnson crew was known for their gang-wide practice of targeting ordinary people, including young students and apparently weak-appearance white-collar workers for extortion. As a fellow gangster, I was all too familiar with their bad reputation. In the pseudo pride, we forbade targeting ordinary people without special reasons. Personally, I detested those who preyed on the weak. I couldn't let them continue their ways unchecked. I proposed to the boss. I'll teach you what it really means to be a gangster. Work under me until you understand what being a true gangster is. What does that mean? Your group will temporarily disband, and all of you will work for us. Isn't this a good thing? I joked. Wait, please. Our group may be small, but we don't want it to be destroyed. We'll pay a higher compensation, so please, just that. I didn't say you'd be working forever, just temporarily. And you're still saying no. The boss fell silent. Then Chris grabbed the boss's collar, starting to threaten him. You can't obey the Big Daddy's order. I've decided to eliminate anyone who defies the Big Daddy. If you don't want to be erased, just follow the orders. Got it? Yes. Chris's threat seemed to have an effect, and the boss quietly nodded. However, Mike was clearly not convinced. Boss, are we just going to back down that easily? I can't accept this. I intend to live as the underboss of the Johnson crew. Mike's objection made the boss turn pale. Man, don't say unnecessary things. We should just obey quietly. We could really be eliminated here, but just silently working like this is unacceptable. You too, boss, wouldn't want to work like a slave under the pseudo pride, would you? I absolutely refuse. Mike adamantly rejected the idea, inciting Chris's anger further. In response, Chris delivered a powerful punch to Mike's face, knocking him down. Chris was about to continue beating him when I stopped him. Calm down. How can I be calm? I'll beat him until he can't move. No, Mike is going to fight me now. What? My word surprised not only Chris but also Mike. If he couldn't accept it, I'd have to make him understand through action. I had a plan in mind. If you can withstand a fight against me for 1 hour, we'll forget the previous agreement. I'll even let the compensation slide. How about it? Will you try? Chris grinned at my proposal. He probably thought there was no way I could lose. Mike looked tense, likely lacking confidence. It's a good deal, isn't it? All you have to do is endure my attacks. Not that you have to win against me. Just last for 1 hour without getting knocked out. Okay, I understand. Mike seemed to realize he couldn't escape the situation. Despite looking tense, he appeared ready to take on the challenge. I moved to the center of the room and stood ready, starting the match without any further preparation. Standing before Mike, I provoked him. Hit me from wherever you want. Go ahead and try to punch me. Hesitantly, Mike swung at me, and I deliberately fell to the ground with great momentum. Surprised by my apparent vulnerability, he couldn't hide his shock. Huh? Man, you're quite strong, aren't you? Maybe I won't last an hour after all. Mike seemed to completely buy my act. Emboldened, he continued to punch without any suspicion. I purposefully didn't resist and allowed myself to be hit repeatedly. Grinning, Mike taunted me. Could it be that the boss can actually fight? You're a boss who can handle a brawl. Sorry about that. Haven't been in a brawl for a while. At this rate, you might be the one who can last, huh? But hey, don't hold back on my account. Chris and the others silently watched our interaction, choosing not to intervene. As time went on and the last 5 minutes approached, I commented casually, "Just 5 minutes left, huh? You holding up okay there? It'd be pretty bad for the boss of the pseudo pride to lose to a small-time gangster, wouldn't it? You seem pretty winded yourself. You all right? My real fight starts now." What? I grabbed Mike's arm and squeezed it firmly. He winced in pain, tears welling up in his eyes. He seemed shocked that I still had so much strength left. Cut it be. You were just pretending to be at a disadvantage. Yeah, I was putting on an act. You've got spirit, but you were lacking in stamina. It was a strategy to wear you out. Thanks for falling for it. Now, the real battle begins. I grabbed Mike by the collar and headbutted him hard. It was clear that his consciousness was fading. Continuing without losing momentum, I attacked relentlessly. Unable to resist, Mike lost consciousness within minutes. The fight ended in my victory. After dousing him with cold water, Mike woke up, his spirit of resistance gone. "You see, I prefer winning battles with my brain, not just brawn," I said. "Thinking you could beat me was a big mistake. Even Chris here has never beaten me. Why? How could this happen?" Mike, overwhelmed with frustration, began to sob. Then, seemingly feeling guilty for involving his fellow gangsters, he started to kneel and begged. It was evident that Mike was desperate for leniency. "Please, I'll take whatever punishment you give me, but spare the others. It's my fault this happened. Yes, you instigated the trouble with my sons, so you're the root cause. But I want all of you to take responsibility. I want you all to change. We don't need more gangsters like you. From now on, I will change my ways. Please, just spare the other members." Mike begged through his tears. But a promise is a promise, and I intended to hold them to it. Unfortunately, nothing you say will change my mind. If you continue to defy me, I have my own ways of handling things. Do you want all your members to end up at the bottom of the ocean? I wouldn't mind making that happen. Hearing this, the boss of the Johnson crew let out a small cry of alarm. "Mike, stop talking nonsense. We have no choice but to obey." Mike fell silent at the boss's words. As agreed, the members of the Johnson crew would follow my orders. Starting the next day, they began working for us as best boys, handling cleaning and meeting preparations. However, a few weeks into their work, a problem arose. Several members tried to mess with a civilian woman, a serious violation in the pseudo pride. I imposed punishment for their collective responsibility. So, they were all sent to work in a remote island factory, a decision made to uphold our standards and discipline. The factory, under the management of the pseudo pride, employs mostly former gangsters. They work almost ceaselessly there, like slaves, without a set period of time. Essentially, it's indefinite. It's my intention to make the most of their labor for life. This serves as a harsh reminder that life in the underworld is unforgiving. While I anticipate their days ahead will be hellish, I intend to continue imposing these relentless punishments. This incident led to me revealing my true identity to my sons, which had me worried they might reject me. However, both of them accepted who I am without hesitation. Dad's still our dad, no matter what he does for a living. Yeah, Dad looks so cool defeating those gangsters. I want to be a man who can protect others, just like him. A brave man who can stand up to anyone. Yes, indeed. Their words made me smile without realizing it. I had always strived to be like my father when I was young. Knowing my sons feel the same is incredibly gratifying. I think I want to try judo, like Dad. That's a great idea. You should definitely give it a try. Then I'll do it too, with my brother. This incident sparked their interest in judo, a martial art I had practiced myself. The fundamentals of fighting I learned from judo. Whether or not my sons choose to walk the same path as me is uncertain. But as a parent, I want to support whatever path they choose. As a father and the leader of the pseudo pride, I'll continue to live a life that brings no shame to either role.